Hey gang, this is KR King of D&D Homebrew. Today's video is how information spreads through your world. And so I thought I'd give out a little information and a plug to my podcast, Monsters and Treasure, that I'm doing with Daniel Norton of Bandits Keep. It's all about being a GM, running D&D, also playing D&D. It's system agnostic, which is important these days. It's been really fun to do this. We're getting some views. It's really fun. Check us out every Thursday. A new audio recording comes out on the podcast. And now that I've given that bit of information, I'm going to talk about how it spreads through your world. Because here's the thing. People love to talk about the things that have happened to them, the things they've heard about, rumors, gossip, whatnot. People talk about all, events, ideas, anything, because that's just what we do. And since the sentient monsters, creatures, NPCs, humanoids of the world of D&D are based on the only one we know about, which is people, I think this would be something that would be talked about in your world. So you want to think about the sort of things that sentient creatures would talk about, the reliability of this, how much time has gone, how long it takes for this information to spread. And if you do this in a way that makes sense, it makes your world seem real to your players. And the spreading of information is something most GMs are very familiar with in terms of the players, information coming to them. Because adventure hooks often start with some bit of information that, the classic is the players are in a tavern and someone comes to them and says, could you do this for me? Search for this treasure, rescue this person, whatever. I've heard about people that literally have a board in the tavern of looking for adventurers or whatnot. You get some mission from if you're in some guild or whatnot. It's a very familiar thing. Now, of course, instead of the bulletin board on the wall, I usually think of these appeals for help or for searching for some treasure to be done a little more furtively on the QT because this is valuable information. And of course, you can be way more creative in terms of how information comes to the players. They could overhear someone talking in the tavern. They could overhear something in a dungeon. They could have a battle, and if there's one survivor and they interrogate that survivor, they give them information. Of course, this is where the, reliability of a narrator comes into play. They capture the goblin, say, where is the rest of the host? They may give them information that leads them into a trap or whatnot. Or they may have a reason that's believable to the players of why they might betray the host. And so once the players begin to realize that the sources of information isn't just people coming up to them and asking them questions, for instance, they start to try to capture someone in a battle to interrogate them, knowing the reliability issue, but still, information is power because that leads them to things. Another obvious source of information to the players is a map or parchment or book. Sometimes these book can be written in a code or have puzzles or riddles. A map can be very old. The details of that map, geography, if it's too old, aren't as relevant. But if it was drawn up last week, you can count on it being very relevant. But, talking about conversations that people have and how information spreads, some information is only relevant to the people that know each other. So if your friend Fred gets a new car, you're going to tell other friends of Fred. You're not going to go around everywhere you go and just tell people in the store to, Fred bought a new car. They don't care. But if you have a friend that just won a multi-million-dollar lottery, that's a bit of information that you might tell a lot of different people. Oh my God, I have a friend who won a multi-million-dollar lottery. That's the sort of news that's going to spread. And it should work this way in the real world. If someone pulls off a super heist, in town or whatever, the news of that's going to spread to the players. And if the players do that, that news is going to spread too. If they go into a tavern and spend 10 gold on drinks, who cares? Nobody's going to talk about it. If they go in and spend, buy drinks on the house, right, and suddenly are flashing money around, that's the sort of news that will travel. Because here's another way that this information can spread. Suppose the players find some incredible jewel in some dungeon and they go to fence it somewhere. Well, at the Hope Diamond, that's going to attract attention, right? If the players loot some long-lost tomb, defeat the ancient mummy or whatever, and they bring back gold pieces and they start spending them, well, those gold pieces are 500 years old. They have some king on them. And the information that the person that bought these is going to be like, look at this, look at these gold pieces, right? Also, the tavern keep may either give the players something or say to them, look at this gold piece that this guy spent. I've never seen one like this. It's pure gold, but look at that. Information is spreading that way. And think about the ways in which the activities of your players gives information to NPCs and creatures, both in terms of the things that they've done, but also their reputation, their renown gives out that information is out there. And that causes people to come to them to give them information, right? If you have renown, people will come to you and ask for your help, assisting them in terms of, finding some treasure or rescuing someone or whatever. And that's based on information that is spread from their activities. But it also spreads, let's say the players defeat a group of bandits, and they defeat them in town A. So first off, how quickly is the information of this battle going to spread in town A? Well, it depends first of all where it was. If it was in a back alley, no witnesses, they kill all the bandits, not very quickly. One drunk lying in the alley who witnesses it, well, he may talk to a few people in his purview, but the reliability of that guy is questionable. No, people may not believe him. If they have this battle in the town square and there's 100 witnesses, that information is going to be spread very quickly, and it's going to be believed because it's backed up by a lot of similar stories. Although remember, eyewitness accounts are notoriously, dubious. The people in the town square that supported the bandits are going to have a different tale than the people in town that either supported the players or just average Joes. As the players get up in level in terms of the renown, now they're not just, killing 3 orcs or some gricks in a cave. Now they are, conquering the Mummy Lord's tomb and bringing back the Hope Diamond or whatever. Now they have this renown. These exploits are going to go farther out in a farther sphere to the players, and that's both good and bad. Because remember, the sentient creatures love to talk about events around them, unusual things. They love to tell stories, and the stories are much better when they are grandiose events. So as I say, the common ways that information can spread are people talking about it, people writing it down and, sending out letters or missives or whatever, and then we have these sort of information. It's either on a map, a riddle, carved into a stone tablet. That's a single source versus when people talk about something, it just, exponentially grows into the circle of people's associates. So just looking at verbal information, how long does it take to spread? So let's go back to our example of the battle in town A. The players do this in an alley. There's only one witness or none. It's not going to spread very quickly at all. Again, there might be someone that opened up a window and looked out and saw this down in the alley. That's going to spread very slowly. The battle in the town square is going to spread very quickly in town A. But let's say the players leave and they go to town B and it's 1 day away. How long does it take for the story of that exploit to spread? Well, again, the alley, the one witness, or the person out the window, that's not going to, again, go very quickly. Whereas in the town square, well, how often do people travel back and forth to this town? It's going to spread. How much do they care? That much depends on the notoriety of these bandits. But again, is the town guard looking for the players? Do they go, they send out people to find out where they are, and then they're asking, have you seen these men, wanted posters? It's going to spread quickly. But information, let's say on an island that, disappeared in an earthquake 500 years ago, well, there may be legends or stories of this, but information as to where the island is not spreading because no one knows until a stone tablet found by the players, let's say, or a map or something is found where they go, wait a minute. This could be this. Now the players have to go somewhere else to get corroborating information or whatever. And then if they go to get their corroborating information, does that person tell people, hey, these players came to me with this thing, and suddenly the information begins to spread. The players learn. Just don't start talking about secret. Be careful who you talk to. Give them, incentive. If I find this, if you keep this secret and I find it, there's a payment in the end for you, something like that, because they realize people hear about stuff because they love to talk about stuff. And sometimes you have verbal information given to the players that just took time to get to them. A caravan is wiped out. One merchant escapes, runs into the woods. It takes him a week to get back to town. He meets up with the players, or let's say 3 days and the players meet him on the road. However you do this, there's that time link, and then the bandits have had time to go those 3 days. So the information comes to them instantaneously. He doesn't forget. He's very accurate if he's a merchant, but you've got that 3 plus 3 day gap. Because the length of time between the event happening and the information getting to the player or being transmitted affects its accuracy. We all know the telephone game when you say something and you go around the room, and by the time it gets to the end, it's a hilarious mangling of the initial thing. Well, this you should take into account. If it wasn't an eyewitness, if I heard from a friend of a friend, that information is going to be very distorted. We also talked about the unreliable narrator, someone who has a grudge either against this party or the players or whatever. Obviously, as I said, information from some long-lost temple or city or whatever, it's going to be affected by that passage of time. So let's say someone disappears, right? and the word is out that they've disappeared. How long does it take to spread? How many people will be interested? Well, if you had the drunk in the alley from the bandit fight, probably it would take a while before anyone noticed that that person had disappeared, right? But the baron who runs the town suddenly disappears. Tons of people are going to be talking about it. This information is going to spread very quickly. Unless the baron was very old, let's say, never left his keep. He might not be seen for a month or months. You'd say, well, then people wouldn't talk about this, whatever. Well, there might be rumors because the servants in the keep who gave him food or saw him much more often than just people outside, suddenly he's not there. He's gone. They're not told anything. They're going to talk. They're going to talk to people of their milieu, tradesmen, people at the bar, whatever, unless they're told to keep this absolutely secret. Why? Because the baron being missing could cause a power struggle among the nobility or something like that. But again, they might just tell somebody, right? Because of that innate desire that people have to tell. I've got a secret. I've got a fact here. The baron is missing. They're going to tell someone. And juicy information passes quickly. And this information goes both ways. If the players have renown, if they are at a level where they've done some significant stuff that people have heard about, the baron disappears. They want to keep this silent. They go to the group, say someone in the nobility, knowing that if it comes out the baron has disappeared, it's going to cause huge problems in the governmental structure and everything. They come to the players who have renown. Information has gotten back to them that these guys are capable and they're discreet, and the players are asked to investigate the baron's disappearance. But even if the drunk has disappeared, if the players have a personal relationship with that person and they find out about it, again, because of the insignificance of this person, it's taken a while, but they finally hear, or they go back to the tavern and someone says, hey, Elwood the drunk, he's disappeared. And the players ask about him because he's helped them on occasion. He's watched over their rooms. He's done some service. Again, don't forget about that when you're creating taverns of the different people that work there and what they might do. The players have a personal interest and they're going to go, what's going on? Why did they disappear? And this, of course, is part of when you tell them information like this, most players will say, he didn't just disappear. There's no reason to get rid of him, right? Something's going on here, and they have a very compelling reason, their personal relationship, to investigate. So there you have some ideas on how information can spread in your world. It really does give it a sense of verisimilitude when the players realize that the events in your world and their actions in the world are discussed in a manner that we're familiar with. They learn to become discreet. They learn to interrogate prisoners, but also take them with a grain of salt. They learn that the world operates under conditions they're familiar with, which makes it more compelling, more exciting, more interesting. And if you like what you've seen on my channel, please subscribe. Give me some comments. Tell me how you've used information both for and against the players, how you think about how it spreads through your world. And of course, most importantly, keep playing D&D and tell somebody else about it.